I'm gonna recommend you the best thriller books that I've read, and trust me, you're not gonna fall asleep before you finish the story. I'm Jyotsna, your book bestie, and today I'm gonna recommend you the best thriller books that I've read so far. If you've watched my previous videos, you know that I'm a big fan of like romance as a genre and even self-improvement because I read a lot of self-help and self-development books. But thriller was something that I sort of found while reading romance novels, and specifically, if I have to tell you, it's Verity. So Verity is the one that got me interested in the entire genre of thriller, and that's when I started my journey of like reading thriller books. And I am so happy that I started that journey because I am in love with this genre now. These days I am gravitating more towards the thriller genre, and it is not very healthy, to be honest. Like, it is so difficult to just put the book aside and sleep, because even when you're trying to sleep, the story is going to be in your mind and you just want to know how it ends, what the plot twist is, who the murderer is. Like, you just want to know the story, and that is why it is not very healthy, because you're gonna stay up till like 2 a.m 3 a.m in the night, and you're gonna think about the book the whole time when you're trying to sleep also, and you're just going to be sleep deprived the next day. So warning and a disclaimer, please don't start the book in the night, because if you're going to start the book at like 11:30, 12, you're not going to sleep till 4 or 5. So yeah, without any further delay, let me recommend you the top best reads in the thriller genre. So the first recommendation I have for you is this one, which is The Maid, and this book is all over TikTok, it is all over Instagram Reels, so you can say every bookstagrammer, book talk, anybody who reads thriller books has recommended this as one of the best books to read as a beginner. The book is also pretty short, it's just 280 pages, so you can actually finish it pretty quickly compared to all the other books that I'm going to recommend. The story is about a maid in a hotel chain who cleans a lot of hotel rooms, and one fine day she finds one of the men who is actually a very regular client in the hotel who gets murdered, and she's the one who finds him murdered in the room. So the entire novel navigates around what happens and how people are trying to find out who murdered him and what exactly is the story behind it. And Molly sort of finds herself stuck in it because she was the one who discovers him murdered. So as you go through each chapter, you get to see like new secrets being revealed, new suspects that you might have in your mind. At least I personally did. After every chapter, like the suspect that I had sort of changed, but in the end it was actually a bit surprising because I didn't expect that person to be the murderer, but you get what I mean. So it looks like Molly is someone who's very like naive and like very innocent and doesn't really understand things, but you get to see like throughout the story that she's actually not, you know, someone who's dumb or naive. She's actually really smart, and at the same time you also get to see some of her conversations with her grandmother who passed away, like the conversations between them and all the things that her grandmother used to tell, all the advice that she used to give is actually very meaningful, deep, and something that I personally liked a lot. That emotional connection that she feels with her grandmother, although she's not alive anymore, I mean, that felt like a really good touch to the entire story. Overall, it was so much fun to read this. I finished this in one single sitting because I was so curious as to what happens in the end, and I really liked how this one ended. I was pretty satisfied with the ending. So yeah, you should definitely read The Maid if you're looking for a very quick and short thriller, more like a murder mystery novel, then you will love this book. Okay, the next book I recommend you to read is The Silent Patient, and this is actually a book that I recommended even in my previous video. If you're a total beginner and you want to start off with a very interesting story which will keep you hooked, then The Silent Patient is your perfect read. So this one is a psychological thriller about a woman who actually shoots her own husband. So you sort of navigate and try to understand why she's the one who shot her husband. Most of the time I thought it was maybe like a mental illness or a mental issue that she has, but the ending is very surprising and the plot twist was crazy. So I didn't love the ending that much because I sort of like predicted what's going to happen. I knew, and I always had a doubt on this one particular person who kind of ended up being the culprit or whatever. So that's the reason the ending was a little predictable to me, but at the same time I would say I still enjoyed this book a lot. Again, this is one of those books I finished in one single sitting. I just couldn't put it down, and even when I was eating, I was drinking, I was still reading this book. So yeah, it's that addicting, and this is again one of those books you would want to finish it on an entire day. So grab this book only when you have a lot of time and you are ready to finish it in the same day itself. Okay, the next book I have for you is on my iPad, which is Rock, Paper, Scissors, and oh my god, I will have to say this is my most favorite thriller that I've read so far. It was so surprising. The ending was just like, what the hell just happened? The entire story is about a couple that is sort of having a rough patch in their marriage. In order to save their marriage, they go for like a free weekend getaway that they win to Scotland, I believe, and that's when the story sort of takes off, and that's when you sort of start seeing everything getting messy. It sort of gets spooky because a lot of spooky things happen at the place they're staying in, but at the same time you see a lot of confessions between the husband and wife, a lot of lies, betrayal, a huge confrontation that happens. But the ending, the plot twist is just insane to me that I took some time to get over it. I did not expect or anticipate it at all. Like in the other books, I was at least anticipating, or I sort of felt like, okay, this could be a suspect, but this one, the ending was entirely shocking and extremely surprising to me. Nonetheless, I enjoyed it and I just loved the story. Very different from all the other thrillers that I've read before, which is why this is one of my favorites. I'm sure I'm gonna read more books by the author. Her name's Alice Feeney, I believe, and I think she has other books, so I can't wait to read those books as well. Next one I have for you is actually a romance thriller. It's Verity by Colleen Hoover. If you do not know Colleen Hoover, she's a super famous writer, especially in the romance category, and it's one of those books which does not have like a perfect closed ending. It is more like open to interpretation, and whatever the reader wants to assume can assume, which makes it even more crazier. Like I remember finishing the book, not understanding the ending, didn't want to assume on my own, so I actually went on to Reddit, I went on to Goodreads, and I started reading all these discussion forums just to understand what exactly the ending is and how I'm supposed to take it. So basically, when it is open to interpretation, you're going to think either character A is bad or character B is bad. But then Colleen Hoover came up with a bonus chapter, and after reading it, it becomes so clear that character B is the one who is at fault, and I was super disappointed because the whole time I wanted character A to be the bad person and not character B, but the bonus chapter basically screwed the entire ending and made it character B, so I felt a bit disappointed. So I entirely messed my opinion by reading the bonus chapter. So if you would ask me, please read the book without reading the bonus chapter. You will definitely love it then. It is a book about a lady named Verity, and she is a super famous author, but she actually meets with an accident and is suddenly bedridden, and she cannot write, she cannot speak, and she is sort of ill. Her husband hires another person, but he hires her to finish Verity's novel that was sort of incomplete. The manuscript, everything's ready, but he just needs a writer to finish the entire book because it's sort of like a contract binding, something related to that. And what happens is there is a lot of romance that happens between this small-time writer who actually comes up with a fake name because she wants to hide her real identity. And so basically a romance occurs between the husband, like Verity's husband, and this writer, and that's how the story takes off. A lot of spooky scenes again, which will sort of give you goosebumps, and please don't read it in the night again, you might even get scared if you sleep alone. But yeah, that's how the book sort of navigates. But overall, it's a great read. Love the ending, love the whole open to interpretation ending. It's very interesting. So the last book recommendation I have for you is The Housemaid, and don't get confused between The Maid and The Housemaid. They're both different books with like different stories. A lot of people actually get confused between them, but they're completely different stories. If I am being very honest, I think I like The Housemaid more than The Maid. It was such an interesting story. Again, it is super long, it is not going to be short like The Maid, but it was very interesting. It's again about a housemaid who gets hired in a new house, and the creepy part about the story is that they give her a very tiny room to stay in, which is not even like ventilated, has a window, and is just like very creepy. At the beginning, morning she sort of has nightmares. She's not comfortable staying in that room. She wants the door to always be open because she just fears staying there. And a lot of moments in the story where she sort of like freaks out, or the gardener comes and tells her like, you know, this house is dangerous, like don't stay here, save yourself, like leave this place, things like that. So you get to see like a lot of things happening, but at the same time nothing abnormal is happening. So the maid doesn't understand. So the lady of the house, like the one who hired her, sort of gives out a very good impression at the beginning, but then she turns out to be like this really mean person who's super ill-mannered, cranky, moody, and extremely hyper. And then you get to see what exactly happens from there. Don't want to give you too much of it, but it is just a story about a lady who is again a maid in the house, but turns out to be super smart as you keep going through the chapters. So yeah, that's how the book is. I would say that this is my second favorite thriller book. I think the first one would be Rock Paper Scissors, and the second would be The Housemaid. So yeah, if I could recommend only two books for you to read, then I would definitely tell you to read Rock Paper Scissors and The Housemaid. So that was it, guys. These were all my thriller recommendations for you. I am so excited to read more thriller books, so I'll keep you updated on it. Also about to begin another new thriller mystery novel, which is A Nearly Normal Family. I haven't started reading this yet, so I don't know how this book is gonna be, but yeah, after I finish it, I'm definitely gonna tell you if it's worth reading or not. So yeah, I hope you guys liked this video and found it useful, especially if you're someone who's about to begin your reading journey. I would definitely recommend you to read thriller novels. Thriller novels are the perfect way to start because they're always going to be interesting, they'll keep you hooked, and you always want to know what happens in the ending, so you're going to definitely finish the book and complete it. So yeah, I hope you found this useful, and do subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I'll see you guys in my next video. Lots of love. Bye. Well known or a famous writer.